We are going to be talking about some of the secrets that I uncovered. Some of them you probably know. Some of them you may want to delve into. So they're everything from sort of strategies all the way over to very specific tactics. And just like a slight little twist, sometimes is all we need in order to really grow and scale our businesses. Now, the thing about the US as well as the EU, we're different, but we're very much the same when it comes to this whole thing about solopreneurs and micro-sized businesses. Now, I tend to work more with micro-sized businesses, people who want to have a lifestyle business. They're not interested in having their name on the side of a business. So this year, interviewed 30 successful solopreneurs who don't want the headache of hiring employees. I talked to them because I wanted to know, what are your secrets? How are you doing it? You know, some of them were 7-figure solopreneurs. And I thought that was fascinating. I'm trying to get to 7 figures. So I interviewed them and I really began to dig in deep in terms of what is that thing that we all need to either do or do more of that will bring us up higher. And when I was looking at this whole solopreneur thing, what I found is in the EU and the US, very much the same. It's hard to find statistics. The government really doesn't give a lot of respect to micro-sized businesses because they feel like they're kind of stuck in yesteryear. They feel like, well, if you're not, farm and you're a non-employee, you're not adding as much to the economy. And you guys know that's just not true. So what I'm going to talk about today is the secrets of the 6 figures with 0 employees. And this is generally what they said. If you want to grow your company, if you want to have your company systems ready to really blast off, there are some very basic things that you probably did. If any of you worked in corporate before, you've seen these things. But for some, when they become freelancers, self-employed, they forget because they focus more on the thing that they like to do. They forget that a lot of building a business has to do with administration. It has to do with business growth. So when I looked at these comments, and the book's not out until first quarter of 23. So you guys are getting a preview of some of it. But when I was looking through all of these fascinating comments and recommendations, they sort of fell in these sort of 4 broad pillars, if you will. Because really what I was asking them is, if you are talking to someone who wants to start a business or they want to grow a business, what are your best recommendations? And we looked at a couple of different areas, but it kind of shook down to this. The mindset of a business builder, I almost don't even like the word mindset, it's so overused. But notice I said a business builder. Some of these people that I interviewed, they actually coach and mentor other solopreneurs. And they talked about them not understanding that you have to build a business. You've got to make capital investment. You've got to make time. You've got to get a team. Some of them don't understand that they just want to do what they do. The second area is hyper-focus. They really emphasize the fact that you have to be so careful, and all of us know, with so many things because we don't have much free time. And then the firm business foundations. And I'm not talking about how you get established. After you are legally established, what are some of the things you need to do that every business needs? And then finally, they talked about freedom strategies. Now, freedom strategies are the things that we need to incorporate inside of our business so that we don't lose the freedom. As many solopreneurs, many freelancers go to business because they want freedom. So let's talk about this first one, this mindset. They said they see too many small businesses who haven't burst through the six-figure barrier that don't have a real six-figure vision. And the way they describe the six-figure vision is not like, my goal is to make six figures. That's not how they described it. They described a six-figure vision, a vision that's just driven by metrics. It is a vision of your operations, your administration, your team. It's really looking into the future and seeing what you're going to grow up to be. So if you're one of the people who wants to have your name on the side of a business or of a building, then you should be able to see that. And in your vision, you should be able to really include all of the things that it would be necessary in order for that to be true. So the vision is huge. And the vision is not just about I have an income goal. Several of them who are coaches said that's what they find. Freelancers say, I have an income goal, and they back into it and they think they're done. But their vision is very different. And then they talked about the mindset of a CEO a little differently than what I think I'm used to hearing. They talked about a CEO is a vision crafter, yes, but he's a vision caster. In casting your vision, you have to use your great persuasion, your great speaking, but it's really about being able to communicate what does this thing look like as it grows to potential investors, potential partners, potential staff people, to really be able to cast it. You know, think of like a Steve Jobs. He was a master at casting the vision. He had his whole team riled up like they had been at a soccer match. So a CEO has to cast the vision. And they talked about, and I know from my experience, that far too many freelancers don't cast it. Even when you ask what they do, they tell you where their current state is. They're not casting a big vision. They're not making it clear. They're not making it loud enough for potential people who might hire them to hear it. And then, of course, once you have the vision, we all know we have to develop the strategy. They talked about the fact that a lot of freelancers end up on the tactics side, not on the strategy side, not thinking long-term about where they're going. And I had never really heard this. We should be scouts. One person described us as scouts, and then I ran that past a few other people that I interviewed, and they said, yeah, that's a perfect description of it. A scout is someone who's always on the lookout. They're always on the lookout for where's the next funding, where's my next team player, whether it's a staff person or a contractor, where are the next contracts? Where are the next? A scout is always looking for what they need in order to make that vision come to life. And I had never really thought about it that way. So let's talk about hyperfocus. Pareto principle is something that we probably all have heard. The importance of customer satisfaction and loyalty. 20% of our customers are going to give us 80% of our business. But they were talking about knowing that customer, that repeat customer, that large customer so well that you actually build your blueprints around their next best steps. So in addition to calculating what is the lifetime value of those customers and understanding why do they continue to come back to you, really understanding why are they coming back to you, and then building in these listening sessions so that they can give you real feedback, not those little surveys, you know, give me a 10 or a 1 if you thought this was great service. Not that. Really digging in deep and finding out what is their next best step. Let me give you an example. I have a contract now with a foundation where I am training freelancers. And so I've been listening to the client, asking all kinds of questions, trying to find out, what does he really want to accomplish? It's not just the goals that he gave me while he hired me. It's really personally, where is his tie back to those goals? And as I did that and stayed in contact with him, after 6 months of training these freelancers, one of the things I found, these are people who've never been in business before and really are a little bit afraid of getting in business. So I came back to him, not with, these are the things that I do that I could help you with, but I came back with the next best step for him. And so I proposed, we've got a number of folks who don't know what their offer is. Let's do a webinar about crafting your irresistible offer. I propose, there are a lot of people who need a little more hold handing. Let's do an alumni support for people as they graduate the program. That's the next best for him. And that's going to help him meet his metrics, because his metrics are based on the income that they make. And so it's the next best for them. When they talked about focus, they talked about the obvious things, like we have to guard our time, we have to guard our effort, we have to guard our money. But listen to this. They talked about, and I love this, I'm implementing this. I have put my resignation into several networking organizations. One of the 7-figure people said this to me: if you're a solopreneur, you only need to be in 3 networking groups. One should be with your peers, so you can stay up with your industry. But those other 2 networking groups have to be where your ideal customers hang out. He said, far too many spend wasted time going to all of these networking groups and they don't even evaluate if they're getting value. That was something that I thought, I'm in a lot of groups, let me scale it back. And I've already started. Then they talked about time blocking for business building, not just for doing the work, not just for doing the administration, for building the business. You know, looking at that future casting and building in everything you need to make it happen. In terms of effort, I do this all the time. And I actually asked, what do you think about this? Because this is something I put into practice for myself, is doing asset audits every year. Every year, I do a complete asset audit. I don't have to start from scratch because I've been doing this for a number of years. But everything that I produced this year happened in the last asset audit. Every big contact that I made, every potential large customer that I connected with, I do an asset audit because it keeps those things fresh, because I forgot what happened in January. And just by doing your asset audit, you'll find that you already have a lot of your next. It's already there. You don't have to start from scratch. And then, of course, your standard operating procedures. One of the recommendations is begin to record when you're doing anything online. Begin to record it first, even if you don't have a team, you don't have a virtual assistant, record it. Because what you do is you drop it into the folders, which you're building as your operations manual. And you'll have to go back and tweak it depending on how long ago you did your recordings. But that's a really good way, because one of the main problems with VAs is that people aren't prepared to have them support them. And then when they were talking about money, they, of course, talked about knowing your numbers, you know, your cost of customer acquisition, your margins, but they had spent a lot of time on accounts receivable, because a lot of freelancers don't get their money on time, and that causes cash flow issues, and that causes some people to go out of business. So they talked about things we can do to stay up with our receivables, and then monitoring those digital assets. Along with my asset audit, I do a digital asset audit every year, and I look at all the tools that I have And some of them I get rid of. If I haven't used them in 6 months, then I can get rid of them. I don't know if you're like me, but I end up buying a lot of digital tools and then I don't use them. So let's talk about firm foundations. They said, be prepared with your firm foundations, your planning, your financials, your understanding your assets and your streams of income. You want to have all of that stuff itemized, because guess what? One of your firm foundations is to plan for your exit, just like other businesses do. And so when you're going to sell your business, you need to be able to, even as a solopreneur, you need to be able to show them the different streams of income, the relationships, the partnerships. You need to be able to show them your client list and all of that to get a higher price. You also could leave your business to your family. Now, in a lot of instances, people who come behind us don't even want our businesses. Like my son, he would never want my business, but that's an option. But this is the sad thing, and I'm sure it happens with you guys, it happens in the States. We just close it down. We close our businesses down when we're ready for our next, and we don't even get any value out of it. Some businesses sell their equipment for a dime on a dollar. But don't just close your business down. You can look for other people who may want to merge with you or acquire your business. Be very thoughtful about your exit. And then scaling with freedoms. You guys know all of this. Leveraging, partner with people. You need to get profitable partnerships. And I don't mean a take relationship. I mean a mutual, let's grow together. Let's get larger contracts, leverage that. The automation, we all know that we're going to automate the repeat tasks. And this also was interesting to me. First hires. Most people in the States who are solopreneurs, their first hires are a virtual assistant. But they pretty much unanimously agreed that's not probably the best first hire. The first hire should be someone who's going to help you build your business. So maybe like a program management type, a salesperson type, somebody that can stand in your stead and present for you when you're off doing something else. That first hire should be helping you build your business. They should have the same vision that you have, and they should know that there's some financial reward for them as you build the business. Now, I'm going to go through this very quickly, but this is a framework that I've been developing about 5 or 6 years. And when I did this research with these solopreneurs, they just confirmed it. So the base is who you are, the truth of who you are. That's when you're being something, you're doing something, you're a subject matter expert. And then from there, you speak. But when you speak, you have to speak unique. You're not going to say the same thing everybody in your industry says. Books, podcasts, stages. From there, you teach. And of course, you want to go from principles, which don't change hardly ever, all the way down to tactics. The more you can teach the whole gamut, the more you get paid. And then a proven, repeatable system that you can replicate will bring you into industry impact. And then above that, of course, you're legendary. But I talk with them about this because I've been working on this for years, and they just really kind of confirm some of what I do. So when I'm working with experts and solopreneurs and freelancers, you know, I tell them, look, you've got to have a thought leadership improvement plan. And our process is like a 6-month to a year-long process where we help you go up that authority pyramid. So when we're assessing your authority, there's a lot that goes into that for you to really get an understanding of where do you want to be and where are you. Then we also talk about your messaging, crafting and delivering it for the future, not for the expertise you have right now, but there's a different way when you do a keynote versus when you do a workshop, the way you talk. Then we also talked about your through line offerings. Your offerings should all have a through line. you should only really be talking about one set of activities that are related to each other, and it's a through line. It's taking you to high ticket offers. And then, of course, transformation. The more you can provide a transformation, the more income you make. And then finally, the last thing they said is that once you get past that six-figure barrier, you need to make a decision about will you or will you not hire your employees.